Welcome back, everyone.
For a Time Like This podcast.
I'm Natalie.
And I'm Ashley.
And we're your hosts.
Last week, we did not post an
Yes.
episode.
Sorry,
all
guys.
my fault.
My fault, too.
Well, no, it was all mine because we had scheduled to meet on Monday.
Mm-hmm.
And usually we do it at 10, but that Monday we had to do it at 2.
Yeah.
And I text Natalie and I was like, hey, my kid's already in the mood. It's about nap time.
Yeah.
It's going to be a disaster if we record today. Can we do it tomorrow at 10 like we usually do? Because they tend to be playing at that time. She's like, yeah, that's fine. Well, then that night, my father-in-law calls me and he was like, hey, do you want to come down and visit us before we leave out for Arizona? We don't know how long we're going to be back gone. Sometimes once they're out there, they'll be out there for several months.
Well, I didn't even think anything of it. And when you text me and I read it, I was like, oh, she's going to go see her in-laws. And I'm like, well, you don't get to see them very often. So I was like, go ahead. It's fine. It's fine. And then I was supposed to do one by myself and I didn't. It was so hard. I'm telling you guys, it's hard to do one without Ashley or
if you don't have somebody with you, it's like when you're just talking to yourself, it's
kind of like it's hard to gather your thoughts, but it's also hard to like say something and there's nobody there to kind of like do a commentary, bounce and forth about talk and stuff. So it was a little hard. So
I did it a couple weeks ago and I was like,
I don't know how you did it.
And I was like, you just had it was harder. So bravo to any solo podcasters out there.
Yes,
it's very
for real.
difficult.
But I also had this week while you were gone. I also had a tooth pull, and I had a hard time talking too. And I'm still kind of getting used to it.
How long did you have to wait to get this tooth pulled?
I had to wait a month and a half to get a tooth pulled.
Yeah, and she called around to all our dentists. I don't know what's going on. I told her, and me and my husband both.
Yeah,
was like, we'll pull it out for you.
Don't pull it out for me. But I'm like, you guys got to numb me up or something first. I'm telling you, I feel like I hadn't had any issues with my teeth, but after my second pregnancy, it was like, went downhill from there because my teeth are getting worse. So I need to get that taken care of now. So
it's really strange to me. I have 3 sisters, and all 3 of us have the exact same tooth pulled in our mouth.
Really? That's crazy.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I guess that one tooth's bad in all our mouths. I went with my other sister to get hers pulled. It was like just all 3 of us, or all 4 of us, there's 4 of us, all have the same exact tooth. It's crazy. I told you all whenever I did my solo podcast, so this was like 3 weeks ago. Now. It's been a while.
It's been a minute.
That I had some exciting news, and then the next episode we didn't even mention that exciting news.
Yeah. So
we are now officially on Apple Podcasts.
So if you guys don't want to download Spotify, go ahead and just follow along on our Apple.
Yeah, and I will leave the link for that in our description today. We only have like 2 or 3 episodes on there. It's not hard to do. It's just kind of time consuming. So it's just taking me a minute to go through there and transfer it over and all that stuff. It's just taking a minute. As you all know, we have decided to no longer do videos. We do audio only. And so as we get the Apple Podcasts all loaded, like season 1 for the Apple Podcast, we are going to be slowly taking off the videos on our YouTube account. So if you're wanting to watch the season 1 now, you better get on there. We have already taken off, I think, our first episode and maybe our second episode on the videos have been taken off now. So that's gradually going to be coming off. So if y'all see a little bit, if you go back looking for a video that's not there, that's why. It's audio. We just want to kind of up you update on that. But that is exciting news that it is on Apple. It's going to take a minute to get it all transferred over. My fault. I'm slow at it.
No, you're fine.
It just takes a minute.
Ashley does a lot of the videoing, editing, and as well as some of the posting and stuff. But we will be a little bit more on our Instagram too, so make sure you guys follow along for there for updates and stuff like that.
Yeah. If you hear our audio being a little bit off today, we are outside. It is so beautiful. We had to come outside and let the kids play. So if you hear the wind and cars and whatnot.
Yeah, so you might, I feel like I heard you on your last one by yourself. I heard like cars zoom by.
Yeah, I was at work, and so there was a bunch of like big trucks coming by, and you can't.
It was good though. It's fine. You couldn't you hear them, but you couldn't really like hear them. So
yeah, we're hoping eventually to get better mics that it's more noise cancellation, like the background noise is canceled out. But we just haven't got there yet.
Yep. But you guys make sure you follow along with us. We're trying to keep our podcast going. And for you guys that are either on Spotify and Apple now, please go and leave us a 5-star review and comment if you love it. Comment what you would like. It kind of helps us out a lot and to keep it going. So
Yeah. So today we were thinking about just discussing being raised differently.
Mm-hmm.
I was thinking about it this morning. I feel like this is a good topic to talk about because it kind of helps you understand other people better. Once you start breaking down like how differently we're all raised, it might help you. Like when someone's doing something that you think is weird, you're like, okay, well that's just how they are. So I don't know. I think it might help you get along or see other people's points a little bit better when you kind of see like.
And like not all Pentecostal apostolics are raised in this. So like if you're newer to Pentecostal and apostolic, because even with me, like I always thought most of the church that I went to, I always thought like most of them were raised in the church.
Yeah, that's true. Because like when you look at us, you might think, oh, they're raised exactly the same. They both went to the same church. Like everything's, and that's completely opposite. Like neither one of us are originally from this church.
Nope. And we weren't, which I wasn't raised in this till I was a little bit older. So
Yeah. And then our exact church, I didn't show up till I was like 23, 24. How old were you when you got married?
I was 21.
21. So we both come to the church
when we were a little bit older.
Just talk about in general like being raised differently, and we kind of want to throw in the aspects of our husbands also being raised differently than us as well. Kind of sets a different tone for your marriage as well.
Yeah.
I was raised Pentecostal. Like we wore skirts, we believed in oneness, all that stuff. Our standards were a bit different than they are now. Then the church we currently go to, that church standards were different. But like we were very, very routine, predictable. Like
everything was just the same.
Yeah, basically. Like every morning, my dad, he worked 6 days a week, so he would get up, he'd go to work, we'd go to school, church, or we would go to school. We went to public school. We'd come home in the afternoons. Mom would always have dinner cooked. We would clean the kitchen. My parents would drink coffee. Then we would just play throughout the afternoon, and then we'd go to bed. So that was like everyday routine, basically. On Friday nights, we would go out as we got a little bit older. We would go out. We'll go like to a town like 30 minutes over. We go out to eat, and then Thursday. We had church on Saturday nights. So Saturdays we'd get up, we'd clean the house, get ready for church that night, and then Sunday we'd have church twice. Yeah. But that was typically just like the routine of our lives. We got up around the same time every morning. Summertime, I guess we did little things a little bit different, but typically it was kind of very, very structured, very, very routine. Like I would already I knew what days my mom was going to be, like she would clean houses on the side, especially after we got older and was at school and stuff.
Yeah.
So we already knew what days my mom was not going to be home. We would come home, everything was like completely structured.
Yeah.
Where's your... now you have a completely different story.
Now for me it was completely, but I feel like the place that I was at when I was 12, it was that was
the
same.
Okay, that was my life from age of 0 to 18. Or 19 I guess is when I moved out of the house, but
well,
it's the same thing.
For us, for me, about 12 and 13, I was at a place where there was like a house mom and dad, and then there was all the other kids.
How many kids were there? Do you know?
When I got there, there was at least, I think, 20, maybe 15,
adults?
With 2 adults that was over the house. So, but like, there was a mix of boys and girls. So like, boys had one hall, girls had the one hall, right? But it was more. I feel like I remember more of that than I did younger in my because I feel like when I was a little bit younger I don't remember as much, but it wasn't I don't know, homely, like I guess you could say. It was always stuff going on that was just terrible, but I feel like when I was 12, I came where my sister was at, and it was nice. It was more home like. They didn't treat us more like we were not their own kids. It was, we were their kids. when they were there.
Did they
all
have
the time,
biological
every day.
kids there as well?
They did.
Okay.
They had 3 of them, or 4 of them. They adopted one. But they were, we went to public school. We went to public school, but they drove us. It was kind of like, it was like they were our mom and dad for a while, until either our families got us back, or until somebody adopted us.
So there was different styles of people in
Yeah.
the house.
Yes.
Okay, gotcha.
Now
By
then,
styles, I mean like some people who had no parents, some people
Yes.
who had parents that needed a
Yeah.
moment to
Yep.
regather themselves before they got them back. Okay.
So, so the people that were over where we were at, they were super good people. I still know them today. You know, and at the age of 12, I really started knowing more truth. But I always slept during church. So I didn't really know, I guess. But I had a problem with sleeping. I feel like I'm telling you guys, I have stories of, I would pass out in the middle of dinner. Because I guess I was so tired. I don't know what's wrong with me. My sister would tell me stories too. And I'm like, I don't remember that. And I think at one point she was telling me that I fell asleep as I was walking down the stairs. And I tipped over the rail. And I passed out, and like people were trying to wake me up, trying to check on me, and I do not remember that.
Oh my goodness, that is crazy.
Yeah, it's crazy. But I had like several instances like that.
Do you still just fall asleep now?
No,
okay.
Thank goodness, I do not.
I didn't know that was a thing that just like
No,
you just
I think I got over that when I was about 13 or 14 is when I kind of got better. I don't know what happened between then and there, but anyway, so at the age of 12, we started going to a Pentecostal church, and I started knowing oneness. Really and truly, I picked it up more when I was like 15, 16, maybe 14.
But that
15.
was when you was kind of introduced to it for the first time.
But yeah, about the age of 12 is when I was introduced to Pentecostal and the oneness of God and stuff. Now, after I turned 16, you know, my parents got me and they took me in, and you know, life really changed a lot. I feel like a lot more than when I was with the home that I was in. Not in a bad way, but in some ways it was really good because I actually had someone to actually just pay attention to me.
Yeah, because
instead of like with the other one, it was like several other kids, and I understood that. Like there was not just me; it was everybody else there too. They had.
Do you think there's benefits in both, like benefits in a small family versus the benefits in a large family?
I think yes. I think there's a lot of benefits in both.
Because I know like some people are like, oh, after 4 kids you cannot. Nothing's good after, like you only should have 4 kids. I was listening to a thing the other day and they were acting like
4 kids was enough.
Yeah, that's too much. If anything more than that's just terrible.
No,
but I come from a big family and I'm like, that's not true.
Yeah,
like,
I don't think so. I feel like when I was with the bigger family with all the kiddos, I feel like we were all just a family. We didn't see each other, and there was, you know, there was all kinds of skin people there, like different colored skin. So it wasn't like we treated each other differently. We knew our circumstances were a lot different than each other's, but they were all the same. We wasn't with our families. Just got with my family, and we just kind of, you know, it was different. It's a lot different than what I was used to with a lot of kids and stuff. But they also had their first little girl too, so like I knew I wasn't gonna be like, not to sound it bad, but like I knew that was their kid, you know, their first kid. So it was kind of different between me and her, but they didn't treated me any different than than her and I. But so we had a little bit of a stricter standards when I went with my mom and dad, but we kind of moved a little bit here and there, so standards kind of changed a little, I guess. I don't know. So that's when I really started having more of like a home life. Was about the age of 16, 17 is when we had I had like that family unit, that most people want and need, but I didn't get it until like that age, which I feel like it was so important now looking back for me, because of where I was at and just things happening around that time. I was so glad now looking back that I had like people that were loving enough to tell me what I'm doing wrong and to guide me to like don't go in the ways of the world, things like that. Of course I had a conscience, but still there was some stuff that I was battling too.
Right.
So, I had that going for me. But,
as far as like your everyday life, kind of what did y'all have a pretty structured, or was it kind of like we'll just go with the flow kind of?
Well, I did go to school for a little while, and then I went to for my last year of school. I think from 10th to 11th grade, I went to a Christian school, and then my mom actually taught in that school too, so like she was with me at school, and we would leave, we would go home, she'd fix dinner, then sometimes, and during the weekend we would always go somewhere, whether it was to town or whatever, and then some days it would just be cleaning up the house on a Saturday, and then you would go somewhere, so we basically kind of had almost like a routine, but not like a routine of same things every day, But I did have like a home structure, which was good. So
so we're just talking about our individual, like kind of how our growing up, and then now I'm going to talk about like how my husband grew up. So I don't know what he was doing at the age of 12. At age 14, his dad was called to evangelize, and so from age to 18, no, not 18, sorry, from the age of 14 to 18, he was on the evangelistic field with his family.
He was like everywhere, probably.
Yeah, so he had. I wasn't saying he didn't have any structure in his life, but they never knew their schedule. They never knew what routine. Like they kind of had to go with. Whenever they showed up to church, whatever that pastor's routine is kind of what they suddenly have to do. Yeah. So if that pastor liked to eat at 3 o'clock in the afternoon, he'd be like, okay, let's go eat at 3, and they'd have to go eat at 3 because, you know what I'm saying? And then if that pastor liked to go eat out at 8, wherever they would show up, they would just kind of take the routine of those people. And so you imagine how that's no routine whatsoever. It's just kind of like whatever everybody else is doing. And his dad was saying the other day, like a lot of times they'll show up to a place, like they'll be traveling 6 to 8 hours, traveling, and they show up and the pastor's like, hey, we're gonna go out to eat in about 30 minutes. And he's like, you would have to, you know how when you've been traveling that long, you just got to rush to get ready. All that stuff. And they're not complaining about it. They're just saying like that was just the style of life, and that's what they was called doing. That's what
evangelist.
They do. So he never. And he lived in a camper trailer, so he was moving, so he didn't have the same spot anywhere or anything like that. So my life was like, I knew exactly everything, and he's like, he knew nothing, And then when at 18, he moved out on his own, and so as a young man, he could kind of do, I wouldn't say there's no structure, but he was just able to go do whatever he wanted, whenever he wanted. And I guess he kind of got to the routine, like my husband, my family, we eat at the same times every day. So like at breakfast we had say whatever time we'd wake up for breakfast, we'd eat breakfast, and then like 11 o'clock we have lunch, and then at like 4 or 5 o'clock we have dinner, and then honestly I don't remember eating snacks in the afternoon when I was growing up, because people would talk about the intermittent fasting, and I'm like, I feel like that was my whole life, because we would eat dinner at 4 and then you would eat again until like 6:30 the next morning, so you'd have all those hours of not eating. We may have had snacks, but I don't remember snacking being a thing.
I think, for me, dinner was a little bit later, I feel like, for me.
For most people, it was. But that's what time we got home. So that's what time we always ate. So, but that's how my family is. Like, you eat at these exact times every day. And I still do that. And then he just eats whenever he feels hungry. So sometimes he doesn't eat lunch until like 2 o'clock. And I'm ready to have supper at like 4.
And he's like, not ready for supper.
I'm like, no, you have to eat at 11. So we can eat together at 4.
That's funny.
So, but then because after he's had that lifestyle, when he was on his own, he just went to whatever, and there wasn't, he was already used to this evangelistic field that's just whatever went. And so he didn't have a lot of structure. Whenever I married him, he was just like, I'll eat what I want to eat, and I'll do whatever you know what I'm saying? Does that make any sense what I'm saying?
It does.
I go to bed whenever I want to go to bed. Like
Yeah.
I just go to bed whatever time. He did have jobs, so that kind of changed his life a little bit because
Yeah,
he had like
once
you had to be here at certain times. But like his family, they kind of like if people stay up till 2 o'clock in the morning, they're staying up 2 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah, yeah.
But so when we come together to get married, it's still even now. I guess like
You struggle a little bit.
a little
to
bit
get in
with
the page.
and I'm just talking about the food.
Yeah,
but
yeah,
on that
yeah.
aspect. But like, yeah, that's how I was like more used to like extreme structure.
Yeah,
and
he-
everything like
his was just like on the go.
yeah. And like I guess because he was on his own for a long time, like even financially, our mindsets are way different.
We're different.
Like because I'm all like it has to be exactly like this. Like you have to do it this
Yeah,
way. And
right.
he's all like I'll just do however I want to.
Right.
I guess he don't do it however he wants to. He just does it different
Yeah,
than me, and I'm
just
like
different.
that's however you you gotta
Yeah.
do it the way I want it done.
Yeah, yeah.
But like it's just like our we were raised way different. So when we
Yeah.
come together, everything was different. So I guess like in any situation, it just kind of depends on how you raised. So how was Travis?
So Travis, as far as I can kind of recall him telling me, and I even talked to I recently actually asked his mom about a couple of things, like how they got in the truth, like the church we're in now, and I don't really want to talk about like their testimony, but I do want to talk about how my husband came to truth. And I think he said he was about age 12 when he came, or when they came, or something like that. And at first I think his mom and dad kind of, because they were raised totally different than what they believe now. And I think they know more now and understand more now, so they know that the truth that they're in is the truth, So, I think his mom and dad kind of went back and forth, and I think you do that when you change or see a new belief. Like for me, I had a hard time with with like coming from a little bit of a looser standard and coming into a more stricter standard. I had to deal with that because I'm like, well, I was so used to this for so many years, and now you're telling me I have to do this, or like you're telling
and
me
I didn't
that
even
this
mention
is what.
the fact that my husband and I, neither one of us are originally from the church we're out of, and he didn't come to our church until 2016.
Yeah.
And he had it wasn't the standards were a bit different.
Yeah.
The church he come from, I think we even fellowshiped them at the time. Yeah. So they're similar but different.
Yeah.
And so me being raised in a completely different way,
Yeah.
and him being raised in a completely different way,
Yeah.
and then we're at a church that believes, or it's not believes is different, but it's different for both of us.
Yeah.
It's kind of like that. And a struggle too, because sometimes we'll be talking about stuff and we just see it completely
In
different ways.
Yes, because I feel like that's how it is for me and my husband. Sometimes there's things that we see differently because of the way we were raised, and then he sees it differently the way he was raised. And it's not I think this is what we're trying to talk about, is how we merged into our differences and how it was a little bit harder, I feel like, for me anyway. When we got married, because how do we combine our differences, and of course you're going to talk to your future husband. I sure hope you do, but like when you're dating, you talk about different things, this and this.
I think
right?
to an extent, but a lot of
Yeah,
things
but
you don't even
not-
think about thinking.
yeah.
And especially if you attend the same, well, you guys did it, but if you attend
Yeah.
the same church, you kind of have like a mindset like, oh, it's the same, and it may not be.
May not be, yeah. Because I know now, like, there's different standards with our church now than it was with the church I was going to before I got married. And nothing wrong with, any of the standards, but it's, it's a little bit different in some ways.
Yeah, there's really like a lot of things. There's nothing right or wrong about it.
no.
It's just there's difference, and so your it's not maybe a clash. It depends on personality.
Yeah.
Because I'm the type that's like, it's right the way I do it, and my husband's
Right.
exactly the same. So we tend to knock heads because we're just like, that's the right, and it's really not. It's
Yeah.
not like you have to eat at 11 o'clock.
Yeah,
That's not
yeah.
the
Yeah.
rule. But that's my rule.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I know what you mean. But yeah, so like, my husband, some of his which he's been there now at the church we go to now for a long time. So
yeah, so
he doesn't.
Well, actually, Travis and I, when we were young, attended the same church. So I kind of have
so you kind of know like
I know what you're talking about all that,
Mm-hmm.
and then we both end up in the same church again.
Yeah. So, I mean, I feel like now the church.
But he's been there since he was 12.
Yeah. So he kind of basically grew up there.
Yeah.
If that makes sense. So yeah.
Was when you guys got married, how was his family like like I was talking about earlier, just like the random stuff, the structures of like were they like go with the flow, or they were like real structured like my family kind of in a way, or was it a mix?
He was raised more, like an example was raised more on like home cooking, not going out to eat as much, which for me, I had home cooked meals, but I was kind of more too of like eating out. So I was expecting that when we got married, I was expecting to always kind of go eat out too on the weekends. Like not during the week for most day, but like during the weekend it was like, let's go out to eat,
all the time.
Yeah, all the time. So like there we kind of struggled a little bit on like, all right, we need to get together on this. Like maybe we can eat once on a Sunday or after Sunday, or something. And
I was used to eating out once a week. Usually, it's all we'd really eat out. As I got toward the end of, I have 8 siblings, so we ate home most of the time.
Yeah.
But as like towards the end, not of my life, like as a teenage years, there was only 3 of us at home, so we were able to do a little bit more than what we could do whenever there was like 8 kids at home. You know what I'm saying? So another thing too with my husband is that I feel like you should only eat out like once or twice a week, which I guess I've changed it now, but like I feel like he should pack a lunch when he goes to work every morning, and he's all like, I'll just eat out wherever I happen to be at. And like that aspects of stuff, like I'm used to, you make your meals.
Yeah. My husband.
But he didn't even, like when he was living on his own, he didn't even cook. Because he's a,
yeah, like I think too, like even with my husband, like I know your husband was living on his own for a little bit, but like so was in a way my husband was too. He was still living with his mom and dad, but he was also going to school and doing things. He wasn't there when their family meals were then, so like he would have to fix his own stuff.
I got
like his lunch or whatever, if that's what he was doing, or
his schedule was way off everybody else's and stuff.
So like he would eat out if that's what he wanted for his lunch or whatever. But like his mom wasn't doing like making him his lunches or whatever, because his schedule was different.
Good for her.
Yeah, so
I'm sure she was doing it for her husband, but she's like, you know what? Whatever your wife does, on her.
And then like, which my husband was a little bit older when he left the house, but like I said, he was still kind of almost on his own because he was still going to school, doing all his stuff that he was doing. So nobody had time to like pack him his lunch because nobody knew when he was going to be home or stuff like that.
I understand what you're saying. Yeah. So it was just like a mashup. So the point of all of this, is like as you can see, like Natalie and I, we seem very similar on the surface, but and even right now our lives might be similar just because we're kind of in similar boats. Like we both had small kids. Not in school yet.
Yeah.
We're
homemakers.
Yeah.
We both have similar. I feel like we both have some similar tastes, but
like we're very similar, but then at the same time, there's a lot of aspects where we're very different.
Yeah.
And so, kind of like when you're in a church, and you're like among a bunch of. Everybody was raised different. Everybody has different opinions. So like when you come into contact with new people, it's like they're so weird, but it's really just like. They probably think you're weird too.
Yeah, I mean,
but that might help you to think about.
Some of them probably, like we talked about this, like there's some people that you're going to mesh with, some people you're not, and I feel like that's probably too because the way we were raised.
Yeah, like our upbringings,
and things like that. Now you can talk to them and be Christian-like, but like there's some things and some people that you aren't always going to get along with, and and I think that's okay, but as long as you're not like hateful, mean, and ugly to them,
Yeah.
But yeah, that's one thing that we was talking about, how being raised differently and how we came with our husbands, but then they both too being raised differently, and how kind of we handle that. How do we like approached it, I guess, in a way with our husbands and stuff, and like do we still kind of mesh a little bit now that we're into our marriage?
Yeah, I feel like we still have a lot of growing to do.
I feel like
Yeah.
me and my husband, I feel like we do too. We have a,
Like
I
in
feel
some
like everyone
aspects, we're
has
still the
time to
same as
grow.
like day one. And other
Yeah.
aspect, I guess we gotten better. But some things we're just like. That's all the time we have for today. We're we have like a little window of time we can get things done in.
Yeah.
And that window is closing.
Yeah,
Our
pretty much.
kids like they don't really want to be
Yeah,
longer.
we love our kids and they're always moving. If you have kids, they're always moving constantly. But if you guys make sure you stay tuned, and I also hope you guys enjoyed our last episode that we did post. It was about dieting. It was a bit more of like a personal story for me, but I hope someone got something out of it. And, like, we pray that God uses us somehow in this to kind of help someone to I don't know, to help someone in some way
we
somehow.
pray that our podcast is reaching people, that it's helpful, and all those aspects.
Yeah.
But yeah, so make sure you like, subscribe, share wherever
Yeah.
you're listening at. We
Yep.
appreciate you listening. Make
And
sure
Yeah, and make sure you go and follow on the Apple, and because we're already on there now. But
yeah, so wherever you want to listen to us at, we appreciate you listening. And
yes,
you can comment on all of these platforms. You're able to message us. If you want to private message us, we do have an Instagram page that's
We
still
do.
active. If you want to get on there and private message us.
Yep.
But that's all time we have this week, and we will see you next time.
Bye.